I hope you fellas are doing well. Today is, I believe, Thursday, the 19th of March. It's a very nice sunny day in the UK. We've got a couple of days of sun in a row. So I hope you guys are getting in your vitamin D, getting in those nice sun rays, especially if you've got little bit of melanin like myself. Got to make the most of these days, especially in the UK where these sunny days, they are few and far between, my friend. But as a as a great perfect day as it is. It's a great day to have a nice live stream and really bring you boys up in terms of your energy and give you guys some sauce, some secret sauce. So let's just go ahead. So as you can see by the title, think less equals fuck more. Now, what I'm trying to say with this title is the less you think, the more you fuck. Okay? Now, let's not get too PG rated because I don't want to keep getting my videos age restricted on YouTube. But the point I'm trying to make is if you think less, you will get more dating opportunities, right? Let's just say that. Think less, get more romantic opportunities. So, this is inspired by a book that I read a while back, to be fair, after my friend Ephraim recommended it to me. And it's called The Alabaster Girl by Zan Perion. And in it, there's a chapter, and more specifically, there's a part in that chapter where he talks about the way that he speaks to women, especially when he's on a date or even when he's approaching them. And he has this great line, and I'm paraphrasing it, but he essentially said that he doesn't think too much about what he's saying, and he just says what comes to mind. And so there isn't much of a filter when it comes to what he thinks about versus what he says. And he would very often, this is what he said, he would very often be with a girl, be with a woman, and be on a date, and she might say something that's maybe antagonistic or it accuses him of doing something bad or she's making fun of him, and he would just say what comes to mind. He would just agree or he would just disagree or he would just run with it, play with it. And the point he was trying to make was he doesn't overthink his responses. He doesn't think to himself, oh, what's the best thing to say, right? Or what can I say that won't offend her? Or what can I say that will make her laugh? Or what can I say that will make her think I'm intelligent or make me come across as smart and quirky and witty? He would just say what immediately came to mind. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen this trend on YouTube about retard maxing. I don't want to use that word too often because, again, YouTube, I know how they are. If you say a certain word a certain amount of times, they will probably restrict my video. So that's the only time I use that word. But this is becoming a growing trend, and there's actually some validity. This is the one time where I'm actually going to support this a YouTube trend, let's say, because you know, retard maxing is essentially saying simplicity is better, right? There is that famous quote, simplicity is the best form of sophistication. There's a reason why that saying sticks. It's because it's very easy to get lost in overthinking, overcomplicating our lives in every domain, in every aspect, especially when it comes to talking to girls and flirting with them and having conversations. And if you're someone like me, or if you're someone like the guys I work with, my clients, who are fairly introverted and also very analytical, working analyst jobs, working advertising jobs where they have to look at spreadsheets and graphs and numbers and look at click through rates and understand clicks per acquisition per click or whatever these metrics are. I used to be an economist, I used to be a data analyst working on Tableau and SQL code and all these logical domains where it requires you to look at everything through a fairly analytical, complex lens. When you're used to thinking in this way from 9 to 5, 24/7, you condition yourself to always have to break something down. And that is a valuable skill to have, don't get me wrong. And even the way that I teach my clients in terms of how to approach girls, I like to put it in a structured format because it is easier to learn that way. But when you're actually in the conversations with these girls, especially these raw, authentic, in person, spur of the moment, cold approach conversations, less is more. Less is better in terms of how much computational brain power you're putting into what you're going to say. And I used to be so guilty of this, guys, so guilty. And I'm glad I've made it out the other end. But I used to be such a chronic overthinker. I remember when I used to, this might have been maybe, let's say 4 years ago, before I really started putting work into my social skills. But I would be invited to a house party. And the day of the house party, let's say it's in the evening at 6 p.m., I would be getting ready in my apartment at around 4 p.m. And I would try to future project conversations. Am I the only one who used to do this? Maybe other guys can relate to this. Because fair enough, I was quite socially anxious, but I was more importantly, or more belatedly, I was such an overthinker and such a perfectionist that I wanted to control how I would have conversations ahead of time. So I would think about all these potential scenarios in my head, like, okay, if this person says this, then maybe I should say this, or if this girl says this, then I can say this. And I was basically preempting conversations because I wasn't comfortable just being spur of the moment, just improvising, or being okay with awkwardness, or being okay with an awkward silence or a pause, or not knowing where the conversation could go. And that desire for perfection, that desire for control was crippling, and it didn't help me in the long run. And so, again, that's my analytical brain trying to basically map out this entire social interaction, which isn't normal, right? It's not healthy and it's not effective, because the reality is that whenever you're going into a cold approach conversation, for example, you're always going to meet a different girl in a different circumstance, a different scenario, and she's going to respond differently to what you say, and you can't predict anything. So you can't go in thinking, I'm going to say this, when, of course, when you end up in front of her and then she says something that is completely opposite to what you planned, then now you're lost in the deep end. Now you're flapping around thinking, oh, this isn't part of my script. This isn't part of what I predicted. And of course, you're going to feel flustered and it's going to sabotage you. So that's why less is more is a really great frame of mind to view these conversations, right? Don't overthink them. Just say what comes to mind. And so that's why when I teach my clients how to open the conversation, I tell them, look, just ask her what she's up to. And at that point, the rest is up in the air. No predicting. You just go with the flow, right? Think of the flow state. When you're in a flow state, you're just going with the flow. You're not overthinking. You're just in that really great sweet spot of continuous action and intuitive behavior. It's all intuitive. It's all in your gut. There isn't second guessing yourself. There isn't planning ahead. You're just in that state where time just disappears and you're just going through the process smoothly, effortlessly, gliding. And that's where the magic happens. But you only get there when you just submit to the uncertainty, right? And that's why thinking less and just being at some level, being as simple as possible is so valuable, because when the girl says something, you just say what comes to mind. I do this all the time, especially on my dates. I'll just say what comes to mind. And yes, sometimes it offends her. Sometimes she goes, what the hell? Sometimes I even just interrupt my date, right? So sometimes like my dates, they'll be talking, and as they're talking, a thought will come to mind. And instead of just waiting for her to finish what she's saying, I'll just put my hand on her thigh and be like, hey, wait, just 1 second. You just said what? What did you say? You said that you went to this place on a horse? What the hell? Why would you even do that? That's so weird. And like she's in the middle of talking and I'm just interrupting her. And it's funny because I can see her like kind of go, wait, this guy's just interrupted me. I'm like, why is he? That never happens. Like normally guys just let me talk. But I just felt the need to do that. Now, of course, do I do that the entire date? No. I just do it when it feels natural because I'm just being like a bubbly kid who's has no qualms or no fears around, let's say, how she's going to perceive me. I don't have any ego that I need her to prop up or boost. I'm just here to have fun and just to speak my mind. And as somebody like me who used to be a people pleaser and also an overthinker, I had to go through a process of really just being comfortable with saying what was on my mind, regardless of how she reacted. And cold approach was a great way to learn that because when you put yourself in so many conversations, at some point you decide, you know what, I'm just going to be as authentic as possible. And think about it. What is true authenticity? Let's really think about this, guys. What is true authenticity? True authenticity is what you think is exactly the same as what you say, or who you believe yourself to be, and what you think and what you say and how you act are all in alignment, all in perfect alignment. And so if I think a certain thought, but then I look at the girl and I go, she might not like that, so I'm going to tweak it, then you're not being fully authentic. Now, there is such a thing as white lies, right? So you might have a thought and then you slightly tweak it and you're not particularly lying, you're not full on lying, but you are obfuscating the elements of the truth. And so we want to move away from that as much as possible. We want to be fully aligned with who we are, what we believe, and what we desire. And that getting to that point is achieved by thinking less, thinking less. And girls love that and respond to that really well because it's a sign that you're comfortable in your own skin and you're an honest, confident, competent man who's not afraid to offend. Ultimately, you're speaking your truth. And so if you're willing to offend or you're willing to tease someone or you're willing to be a little bit contrarian or you're willing to be vulnerable, because sometimes saying what's on your mind it requires vulnerability, right? So maybe she says something that's really interesting or she shares a story, a personal story, and you want to just vulnerably share your own personal story. You just share it, no matter how vulnerable it feels and awkward it feels or emotional it feels. You just share it. That is so admirable. Women are turned on by that. It's an aphrodisiac. I think it was Zan Perion who also said that the greatest aphrodisiac is honesty. Right? Aphrodisiac is like a substance that makes women horny or attractive or yeah, I don't know what the specific technical definition is, but basically an aphrodisiac makes a girl want to sleep with you essentially. So that is a massive driver, right? Honesty and simplicity, or rather simplicity, which is a sort of prerequisite for honesty, is a driver of female attraction, right? It will make her more attracted to you. And think about most guys. A lot of guys are like, just the maxing, trying to put on some sort of facade or some cool boy, suave, James Bond look or demeanor. And if that's authentic to you, then great. That's fine. But a lot of the time it isn't, right? A lot of the time we're being performative. A lot of the time we're just being a bit extra. And we're thinking too much. We're thinking too many steps ahead. We're trying to lay down the foundation. We're trying to lay down the steps before we even got there. When in reality, it's just supposed to be a very up and down journey, right? The best conversations I've had, especially on dates, are just all over the place, right? Which is so antithetical to my logical brain, my analytical brain that, runs this channel, or, the same brain I used to use when I was, working on those coding scripts, or when I was an economist and working on these big projects, trying to manage teams. It's very different to that way of thinking, but again, this is a skill, right? This is a different side. We all have different sides of our personality. We're not all just cookie cutter, one dimensional people. No, we have different elements to us, all of which are authentic. I think sometimes there's a misconception that if you're, let's say, introverted, you label yourself as an introvert, or you label yourself as a logical, analytical guy, that all of a sudden that must mean that you don't have the ability to go into a more playful, childlike mentality or personality, because all of a sudden that means you're fake, or you're faking it, or you're being inauthentic. No, we all have that side to us. If you go to any playground, all the kids are playing around, having fun. They all have different personalities, but 99% of all the kids are jumping around, laughing around, smiling, falling over, you know, getting up to all sorts of shenanigans. And so, in the same way, why do we all of a sudden lose that childlike, playful, illogical energy in adulthood? No, it's because we've suppressed it. We've suppressed it, and then we'll look at ourselves and go, "Oh, that just isn't me." But no, it is you. It's just hidden behind layers of all these different personas and identities that you've stacked on top of each other. So we need to try and reclaim that simplistic wonder, or that simplistic attitude towards life, especially towards flirting and conversations with women during the approaches, during your dates. And this will really skyrocket your results. It's one of those small changes that has a massive upside return if you really understand what I'm saying, especially if you relate to the kind of person I used to be, right? The overthinker, the people pleaser, afraid of rubbing somebody the wrong way, afraid of ruffling a few feathers here and there. Now I don't care. I just don't care. So you have to get to a point where you're carefree in order for this to work. Because I'm not saying that by doing this, every single person is going to like you. No, you're going to be way more controversial. Maybe controversial is a bit too extreme of a word. You'll be more repulsive. You'll be more polarizing. And so you'll probably end up drawing a line where some people probably won't really like you, but then you have your fans. Yeah, you have the people that really like you. And you'd rather have less people in the middle who are like, maybe mediocre, who like a certain cookie cutter mediocre version of you. You'd rather put those people on the side of not liking you, and then have a smaller proportion of people who really like you, right? People who really see the real you, right? The authentic, balls to the wall version of you that is unfiltered. And that's how we really reclaim that authentic side. And as I've said in the title, you do this more and more, you get more opportunities, you get more dates. And the girl's on the date thinking, wow, this is one of the few guys who's actually not afraid to just say it as it is. He's not afraid to pull my leg a bit. He's not afraid to tease me. He's not afraid to disagree. He's not afraid to be vulnerable. He's not afraid to not take everything seriously. He's not afraid to be a little bit self-deprecating at times. All of these conversational traits are representative of a confident man, a man who is comfortable in his own skin. And that is really what we're trying to do here when we go through this code approach process. We're trying to get to a point where you are more comfortable in your skin in all environments, in all scenarios. And so that's exactly what we're here to do. So think less, F more. That's it, boys. Hopefully that's been a useful live stream, valuable insights that you can take into your approaches. And yeah, if you liked what you heard, then there's a link in the description. You can join me and my clients who have also transformed their dating lives by working with me directly. And yeah, using my confidence conquest system, they've been getting dates, and they've even just increased their overall social confidence when it comes to meeting women in real life, away from dating apps, away from social circle, away from loud, sticky floor nightclubs and bars, away from the old run clubs. And yeah, they've taken matters into their own hands and they've seen results. So If that sounds like something you want to experience, if you're tired of banging your head against the wall, maybe you've been approaching already and you just need some more accountability, or you're not quite sure if you're doing it right, and you look around thinking, I'm putting in reps, but I'm not quite getting the results I want, then yeah, link is in the description. Hit me up. And if not, all good. Continue to consume my content. I'm gonna keep on putting lots of value out for you boys because you guys are supporting me. So yeah, we'll keep it pushing. But otherwise, enjoy your Thursday, and we shall chat soon. Ciao.